What's happening, people? Welcome back. Hope you're well. Lorna short, Unbreakable. Now, look, elephant in the room is that I clearly haven't been the biggest fan of Lorna short in the past, and people, and I completely understand this criticism, might start being like, Drew, at what point do you just stop reacting? Okay, now I don't really see any issues with reacting as long as I'm being constructive with my criticism. If I'm just here to shit on the band, it's a different story, but I can assure you that is not my objective with continuously checking out Lorna Shore. Obviously, I'm part of a podcast that talks about the metal music scene, particularly the modern metal scene, deathcore, metalcore, everything in between. This is starting to rhyme. Jesus, this is obscene. Cringe. Okay, I ruined it. Sorry, but I gotta stay on top of things, you know, because these will be conversation points. Lorna Shore are a massive band, and I'm always striving to see if my taste changes, because there was many things that I've listened to when I first started listening to metal music that didn't click with me at all, and now I'm like jumping around like fucking crazy for certain things that like a couple of years back you would have showed me, I would have been like, it's too heavy, bro. So Lorna Shore look like they put on an absolutely phenomenal live performance. Will Ramos, whatever way you want to say it, is objectively an incredible vocalist. So these guys have a lot of things that I really want to love. So maybe it's just one of these things that I have to, through exposure therapy, like Steve always says, maybe it will just be exposure therapy which changes my mind on this band. Not really like changes my mind, because I don't have anything against them. It's just their music hasn't clicked with me. But a lot of people love this band, and a lot of people massively respect this band. So we're going to check out Unbreakable. 18 hours ago. This looks like it was a fan video where they got all the fans to show up, and they did like a concert, like a show with all of the fans involved. So these videos are always fun. Love when bands do that stuff and they don't like charge bands. I've heard of bands like charging their fans to like be there and stuff, which seems a bit crazy because the fans are kind of doing them a favor because it's not an actual concert. Even though there is some bands that I would probably pay to be there for a music video shoot as well, but that's a different story. But anyway, Lorna Shore, Unbreakable. Let's go. Noodles. Symphonies. I feel like a pirate. Not anymore. Actually, you could still be a pirate. That guitar again, I have to say, it's fucking... The drumming is stupid. Okay, a little bit of a groove here. It's almost disguised by the fucking kicks, but it's there. Bad. That voice is just... It's so like pretty at the same time as being ridiculously punishing. Oh yeah. Okay, stay here. Expand on this. Ah, fuck! Wow, man. The layers are just never ending. Are we going to get another moment? Oh, we are. Oh my, that's cheating. They had the fucking AC-130 dropping bombs in the middle of that. Oh my god. Okay. That was cool. Fucking hell, man. I mean, it's so impressive. It really is. Wow. Fucking hell. Okay. I definitely prefer this song to the last one. The last one was definitely in the same bag from what we've heard from Lorna Shore in the past, where at least from what I've heard in my limited listening to this band. But it was like spectacle stuff. But it felt like it kind of meandered around for a little bit and never really evolved. And when they did evolve to the breakdown, it kind of just didn't feel that inspired. Whereas this one feels at least like trademark Lorna Shore. Like they are the band that has inspired a lot of the ridiculous vocal acrobatics and I guess vocal acrobatics has kind of gotten a bit of a bad rep with how you can kind of almost tell when it's inauthentic when a band is doing it because they know that like 30 seconds of it will be clipped and put on TikTok and then that might get their band more exposure. But it doesn't feel inauthentic when Lorna Shore do it because it feels like they are one of the, I guess, founding bands when it comes to, again, the vocal acrobatics, but I don't mean it in a negative connotation way. That one was a little bit more to the point, I felt. You know, I thought the guitar solo was tasteful. They have this really, really fantastic way of having this balance of like beauty and atmosphere whilst also being so ridiculously heavy. But it doesn't actually feel as heavy as it actually is. Like we're blast beating, we're fucking breakdowning, we're screaming relentlessly through it, but it's still beautiful because Will Ramos is like leaning into some melody. So that is one thing that I can take away from it. Obviously, a lot of the things that I look for in modern metal music and deathcore and whatever is kind of like the three pillar stones that I always talk about, whether it be just for my own personal tastes. If I'm listening to something and I'm going to come back to it, I like it to be ridiculously groovy, which is why I was kind of leaning into that in the commentary when I was listening to it, waiting for like they'd find a groove, but then they kind of like always transition out and it becomes too, I want to say like blast beat orientated, which just kind of loses me because I find it too fast paced, too rapid, and it feels like almost anti-groove to me a lot of the time when blast beats are massively involved in songs, and it becomes like a wall of sound that I just kind of sensory overload and check out. Couple bars here and there of blast beats I've always been a fan of, but then there's the melody, which this song does have a lot. Now, it's not like the kind of traditional sense of melody that I would normally talk about, where it's like clean singing, beautiful chorus, something that you can just sing along to. This is similar to the style of melody that I'm referring to in the most recent Cat's Claw track that I just did a reaction to, would have been my last reaction, The Old Way, where it's like something that you can kind of like, it's not like a sing-along melody, it's a fucking scream-along melody. It's like an emotional outburst melody where you could just be like hands at the wheel, just screaming along to it. So I can definitely see that being something that I could potentially replay for that reason. And then I guess the other like pillar stone, if we're talking about the three different things, so we have melody, groove, and then I haven't really defined these terms, but I kind of put the other pillar stone of what I look for in modern music. If it doesn't have like melody or groove, is it doing something maybe a little bit left of field that might not even be the most, I guess, appealing thing sonically, but if it's still trying to do something a little bit different that we haven't heard before? They're little things that I tick in my head as we're going. Now, I don't think that this is necessarily doing that, but like I said, there is moments of groove in the song, and then there is quite a strong melody line, which we don't hear too often in deathcore, especially of this nature that is so extreme. So for me, Unbreakable by Lorna Shore is better for my own personal tastes than their last track. Their last track was definitely a little bit more proggy and like longer, and it felt like more of maybe a spectacle track, whereas this one kind of, you know, maybe took some of the tropes of modern deathcore with the breakdown towards the end. But again, they kind of are a big part of why those styles of breakdowns in deathcore are such a big thing and so popular today. So, you know, you got to let them have it. But that was pretty fun. I look forward to hearing back that breakdown again. I didn't know if they were going to do it, because sometimes with bands who maybe kind of popularized a particular sound and then everyone starts doing it, you can start to see the band maybe drift away from it a little bit because they feel like everyone's doing it now and it's no longer cool, whereas they just started it for the love of doing that particular thing. Similar to like Architects, for example, where they're kind of like shying away from doing the bleh. I don't blame them, it's pretty cringe, but you know, they did something so often and then everyone starts doing it and then they start to shy away from it. You see it all the time. So it's kind of cool to see the Lorna Shore are still just saying, you know what, let's do these absolutely absurd call out vocal moments. Ridiculous. So yeah, that was Lorna Shore, Unbreakable. Let me know what you think in the comments. And also, for anyone who maybe is or was similar to me, where they just haven't really had that moment with this style of deathcore, this like symphonic heavy deathcore stuff, was there a particular shift or a mindset shift that you have to have? Like, I'm not saying that I'm like, I don't think you should force anything when it comes, especially when it comes to music. Like, you shouldn't really force yourself into enjoying something. I'm more just curious because this band is so, like, I'm not forcing myself to like it, where I'm like, oh, I have to find something to love about it. But is there anything that you guys have found from your own experience, maybe if you were like me in the past, where you just couldn't get into this, but then something just clicked? Was it like a live performance? I would imagine seeing these guys live might shift my opinions on them a little bit. So maybe it's a live performance thing that all of a sudden it just clicks and you're like, okay, I can see the appeal of this band musically. Because obviously, you know, you can still see something from a live standpoint and appreciate it, but still not love the music. But I'm just curious to see, was there, or is there people out there, which I'm sure there is, that have had that moment where they just couldn't ever get into it. They can appreciate the technique and how impressive it is across the board vocally and like instrumentally, and everything is so tight, but they just musically could never get into it. Was there a clicking moment that you recall? But yeah, you get what I'm trying to say. Leave a like in the video, comment down below and let me know. Make sure you're subbed to the channel if you're not already. Much love. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.